Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Evening Devotion. Tonight we're going to be reading out of Matthew 24:39. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So what is he talking about here? What is he saying? Let's get some context and let's see if we can find out. Because he's giving some pretty important information. So that's the verse. Let's go up here. We're going to start with the lesson of the fig tree in verse 32. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. And you guys know that fig trees don't bear fruit until the fall. Their fruits, they bear it, but you can't do nothing with it. So in the spring is when they put off their leaves and they get the big wide leaves. And they start out kind of coarse, but they get tender afterwards. And that's when it starts to put on fruit. And it takes all summer for it to ripen. Usually a lot of people wait till after the first frost, or they wait till they get soft. My mom used to have some, they all died. That's how they would do it. And they were actually pretty good. They were big too. So we know that this fig tree parable is actually referring to Israel. And so he's telling you, when you see this nation become what it's about to be, it's not going to bear fruit yet, but start to become what it's supposed to be. You're paying attention to it growing and becoming greater. We see that happening right now. It started in 1948. So you also, when you see all these things, that's all the things he described in previous verses, know that it is near, at the doors. So when you see that fig tree generation come up, you know it's almost time. And it's really funny, if you go back and look in history, back in that time when Israel became a nation, Christians back then were like, that's the sign we've been waiting for. People that were old back then were like, that's Israel. They just became a nation. That's the fig tree. They all knew it. They knew what it meant. They knew what it referred to. And they're like, this next generation is going to see the Lord come. They knew it. I've read bunch of stuff about it. They knew this was happening. Like, this is it. My grandkids and great grandkids, or maybe even my kids, will get to see the Lord come, because they knew what this was referring to. And unfortunately, this was lost time. Kind of started back in the mid to late 50s. When the charismatic movement came and everybody forgot about it. Well, now we're getting our memory refreshed. So when we see this happen, we know it's almost time to go. Okay, we've been seeing this happen. We're within the final 10 years of that generation. Psalm 90:10. And I think the next couple verses are going to actually talk about that. Surely I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. This is one of Jesus' promises about preserving his word. So when you have somebody telling you, oh, you can't trust the Bible, they're liars. You can't possibly be a Christian and say that the word of God can't be trusted. That's direct contradiction. But look at what this says. That generation, what generation? The generation that sees the blooming or the beginning of the fig tree. Well, that started in 48. So anybody from that point on, and all of us that came after, the kids that were born at that time are now in their 70s and 80s. Psalm 90:10 tells you that. A generation is 70, 80 if by strength, but its boast is labor and sorrows. That last 10 years is not going to be a very good 10 years. Well, we're right in the middle of that right now, literally. How amazing. Do the math. When does the 80th year come? That'll tell you something. Little bitty details. A lot of information. No one knows the day or hour, and no one does know the day or hour. Verse 36, but of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. You know, a lot of people argue about that. Well, Jesus didn't know when he was human, but he knows now. He's God. Yeah, but he can restrain himself. See, they don't realize that. When he came down to be born as a human, he restrained himself. Because there's no way that human body could have carried all that glory. It's impossible. It's too much for that human form to bear. Even though that body was a perfect body. Couldn't have carried all that glory. So he had to restrain himself. And he did. He could have put a stop to all kinds of stuff. He even made that claim. Don't you know I can call down a legion of angels right now and put a stop to this? He had the power to do it. He restrained himself. He restrained himself from raising all of the dead when he said, Lazarus, come out. If he'd have just said, come out, every single person that was dead anywhere would have jumped out of their grave. He's had to be specific. Lazarus, come out. So we don't know that day because we can't know that day. And I still think the Lord doesn't know what that day is because he has restrained himself from knowing it because he wants the excitement too. Because when the Father says, it's time, he's going to be just as excited. In fact, he'll be more excited than we are. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. Everything was business as usual. And did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, what is that talking about? And I've heard a lot of different people talk about, well, that's referring to the end of the tribulation. That's referring to the rapture. That's referring to this. Here's what it's actually referring to. And I'm not saying this because I'm a theologian or I have some greater understanding than everybody else. The coming of the Son of Man is the entire time. All of it. It goes from the rapture all the way through to the end of the tribulation. That's the coming of the Son of Man. That statement encompasses all of that activity because he is directly involved in every bit of that. So this isn't one single event. This is all of them. And nobody knows when it's going to happen. Nobody knows when it's going to happen. We have no idea when it's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to start. We're looking at it. We don't know. We can pin it down kind of close based on the information we have. But we can't go past that. And we never will know. Nobody ever will find the date. They're never going to go, well, it looks like it's a pretty good time for these next 3 days. Or this feast day, or that feast day. And the funny thing is, they pick the same days every year. They just did May 14th. Yeah, you do that every year. It's always May 14th every year is a high watch time. No, we don't know what day it is, and you're never going to find it. You're never going to call it. He says, I'm coming on a day you do not expect. Until the day that Noah entered the ark and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. It'll be sudden. See, nobody knew what was happening. They mocked Noah. Noah built the boat. Noah loaded the animals in the boat. They're all standing there. They're sitting in their chairs, sitting around the side, and they're just watching, they're drinking a drink and just watching. What is this guy doing? How is he going to feed and care for all those animals? People who've worked with horses, they know how they're going to muck all them stalls. That's a lot of work. How's he going to do all this? Is amazing. What is he doing? Is he making a portable zoo? What's going on? And why a boat? Why is he building a giant boat? Then it started raining. See, they'd never had rain at that time. The earth was watered with a mist. That's why the trees back then didn't have rings. They have some of them now, and they're petrified. They're stone because the minerals had swapped out the fibers. And they said, there's no rings in it. It's not a tree. Oh, it is a tree. They never had any growth rings because they were watered every morning with a mist. Go to Louisiana or Florida, you'll get an idea of what that's like. It's always humid down there. So everything was perfectly normal until it started raining. And when that rain kept going and going and going, and of course people didn't know what rain was at that time, they'd never seen it. raining, water shooting up out of the ground, I imagine, in some cases. And so they're like, whoa, what in the world? We had no warning. Oh, yeah, you had 120 years of warning. Noah was going out of his way to make sure you knew. But then they started to freak out. They started to run up. The Lord closed the door. And Noah told him, I didn't close the door. I can't open it. You had your chance. I would love to open the door for you. And if it was up to me, I would. But no, I can't touch it. I can't do nothing. It's been sealed, and there's no opening it no more. Done deal. So that's how it's going to be when all this stuff unfolds. Everything's going to be business as usual. Everything's going to be going perfectly normal. Everything is going to be, dare I say, great again. And nobody's going to be watching, and then boom, it's going to happen. And it's going to be sudden and fast. And did not know till the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, these next few verses I'm going to read, it's talking about something involved with this. And there's a lot of contention about these next few verses, about whether it's referring to the rapture or whether it's referring to the end of the tribulation. Now, my take personally on this is, because a lot of the smarter men than me say this is talking about the end of the tribulation. I don't understand how that's possible, because people aren't going to be doing this stuff. It won't be business as usual. It won't be normal everyday operations at that time. In fact, what the Bible describes is everybody's going to spend the whole time running for their lives. But here's what it says, verse 40. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. Now, that's one of the verses in this that tells me that those last couple of verses are talking about the rapture, because he's telling us to watch, not the world. The world could care less. He's telling us to watch. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. We don't know, and we're not going to know, but he's saying watch, be watchful. So I think verse 40 and verse 41, I think that little interaction there, where one is left and one is taken, and there's another part that belongs in there too. It's in another one of the Gospels, where 2 men are lying in a bed, one will be taken and the other will be left. And back then that was a normal thing, to stay warm. But one will be taken, the other left. So 2 men are in the field. 2 men are working the field. 2 women are grinding at the mill. That usually happened at the end of the day. And then 2 people are sleeping. So this is encompassing all time zones. That's why that's like that. It's all time zones. So whatever's going to happen is going to happen around the whole earth at the exact same moment. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. Now, another reason why I think these 2 verses are talking about the rapture is because at the end of the tribulation, it says, all eyes will see him coming on the clouds of heaven. And all tribes of the earth will tremble. Well, what are you going to tremble and then go out and start working the field? Are you going to tremble at the sight and then go out and start grinding at the mill? Are you going to be scared for your life and then go to bed? No. So I don't think this is talking about the end of the tribulation, like a lot of people think. I could be wrong, but I'm just throwing those details that I found out there. And he tells us to watch. You don't know when the Lord is coming. So obviously those 2 verses are addressing us. Watch, be careful. But know this, verse 43, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Who's the master of this house right now on the earth? Who's running the show? Satan. The Lord's in control, but Satan's running things. That's why the Lord's coming back. He's taking his kingdom back. So the master of the house technically would be Satan. If he had known what hour the thief, and that's Jesus, he's coming like a thief in the night. Remember the verse? There's direct connections here. Had known what hour the thief in the night would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. But see, Satan doesn't know. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. All the people out there trying to find the date and trying to name out the date and trying to target the date are wrong and will always be wrong. There is not a single person on this planet that will ever find the date. How do I know this? How can I be so secure in that statement? All of them are wrong, and they're all liars. And they don't know what they're doing to themselves and to the people that listen to them, because it really does shipwreck people's faith when you bring them up and let them down, and bring them up and let them down. And none of them apologize for being wrong. None of them. None of them. I apologize because I was in that stuff, and I did that, and I apologized. I did it in a couple of videos because I was wrong. We're not going to know. This verse right here. Therefore, you also be ready. You, meaning the believer, be ready. For the Son of Man is coming in an hour you do not expect. We will not be expecting him. We'll be watching, but we won't be expecting him. He's going to come on a day when nobody thinks he's going to come. And that's it. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master made ruler over his household to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant. And this is why I ask what I ask. May we be found doing what we've been given to do. Blessed is that servant, verse 46, whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. I pray that we will be found doing what we've been given to do, whether that's in our home, our household, or whether it's in work, or wherever that is, whatever ministry that is, or even what I'm doing here. Surely I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming. Interesting, he says evil servant. Well, the unbelieving world isn't the servant, are they? Who is this talking about? My master delays his coming and begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with the drunkards. Sound familiar? This was one of the verses that got me convinced that I needed to leave the grace community, because that's what they were doing. They were beating up the other servants. You don't call unbelievers servants. They decided to backslide. They decided to fall away. They decided to deny the faith, the great apostasia. The master of that servant will come on a day when he is not looking for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him in two and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That warning is in the Bible on purpose, and it's not referring to the rest of the world. So we need to pay close attention to those warnings. Guys, I've been doing everything I can to try to lead everybody into what I have read in this Bible tells us we should be doing. It's up to us individually to do it. I'm not your policing agent. I'm not your watch, to watch over you. I'm just giving the warnings. These warnings are in the Bible for a reason, and they're addressed to us. The unbelieving world, their warning is get saved. Ours, watch, pay attention. And there's so much more in that. I mean, the whole next verse is shocking, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to deal with this right here. This verse that is, knew not until the flood came. Universal was the doom. Neither rich nor poor escaped. All these rich people, they think, oh yeah, I'm in with the right people right now, because when the tribulation does start, we get control over this whole world. I'm going to be with the right people, and I'm going to have money, and I'm going to be, the Bible actually says the Antichrist is going to take all their money away from them and put them with the poor. So every one of them that you see, I could drop a whole bunch of names right now, but I think y'all know who I'm talking about. They're all going to be down there in the mud and in the blood and in the dirt with everyone else. Universal was the doom. Neither rich nor poor escaped. The learned and the illiterate, the admired and the abhorred, the religious and the profane, the old and the young, all sank in one common ruin. Ironically, that's what that whole chapter addresses. Some had doubtless ridiculed the patriarch, where now they're merry jests. Yeah, who's laughing now? Who's laughing at Noah now? Others had threatened him for his zeal, which they counted madness. No wonder they do that with us. They did it to him first. Where now their boastings and hard speeches? The critic who judged the old man's work is drowned in the same sea which covers his sneering companions. Hell plays no favorites. Destruction knows no race. Darkness knows no status. Those who spoke patronizingly of the good man's fidelity to his convictions, but shared not in them, have sunk to rise no more, and the workers, who for pay helped to build the wondrous ark, are all lost also. He didn't build it by himself, I don't think. So very possibly he had people that helped him, and they went too. The flood swept them all away and made no single exception. Even so, out of Christ, final destruction ensure to every man of woman born, no rank, possession, or character shall suffice to save a single soul who has not believed in the Lord Jesus. That's the qualifying factor. You must believe in the Lord Jesus. My soul, behold this widespread judgment and tremble at it. It is staggering. It brings tears to the eyes. It brings tightening to the heart and the chest. It's staggering. Staggering. When you read the book of Revelation as it's meant to be read in full detail, understanding how horrible, it helps if you have a wider view of the world and how things work. It will be, I can tell you some things that are going to be happening during that time that would make you gag, that are grotesque. But this is what the human condition will push the unbelievers to do. Heaven help the children and the women that will be left behind after the rapture. Not just from the things we know, but there's things we don't know that are going to happen. When people run out of food, what do you think they're going to eat next? I kid you not. That's what's going to happen. How marvelous the general apathy. They were all eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage till the awful morning dawned. That's what's happening right now. There was not one wise man upon earth out of the ark. Folly duped the whole race. Folly as to self-preservation, the most foolish of all follies. You know, the only way you could get a ticket on the ark was to believe and trust God. If anybody else would have walked up and stood there looking at what he's doing and thought about it. You know what, Noah? What you're saying is starting to make a lot of sense. Is there any way I could offer my services and help you with this? Because I think I believe. I think I believe what you're talking about here. I believe a lot in what you're doing. And what would Noah have said? Well, come on over here. Let me tell you about my God. And then he'd have put hammer to chisel and they'd have been working. And that person would have been on the ark. But see, that wasn't the case. I imagine some of them were probably trying to steal some of his supplies to keep him from building it. Look at what they're doing today. Let's tear down what the church is doing. We see that on the worldwide stage in the presidential debates. If you listen closely, you can hear it. There was not one wise man upon earth out of the ark. Folly duped the whole race. Folly as to self-preservation, the most foolish of all follies. Folly in doubting the most true God, the most malignant of fooleries. Strange, my soul, is it not? All men are negligent of their souls till grace gives them reason. Then they leave their madness and act like rational beings. But not till then. All, blessed be God, were safe in the ark. No ruin entered there. From the huge elephant down to the tiny mouse, all were safe. The timid hare was equally secure with the courageous lion. The helpless coney as safe as the laborious ox. All are safe in Jesus. My soul, art thou in him? And are we in Jesus? Again, we get back to that same question. Do you believe? Do we believe? And as believers, we have to ask ourselves and remind ourselves, do I believe? I certainly do believe. I don't want to believe anything else. When I voted, that's what my motivation was behind voting. Now, a lot of people out there, especially believers, say, well, you don't know if Trump's a Christian. I don't care. The platform he stands on is Christian-based. And that's a damn sight better than what the other side is trying to do. At least he's going the right direction. Whether he's saved or not is irrelevant. God is using him for sure, just like he used the other two these last 4 years, just like he used Trump 4 years prior to that, just like he used Obama the 8 years prior to that. To great effect. You can say what you want to say. I'd rather vote for Trump than anyone else. Right now, he's the best man for the job. You can't vote for what you like. You vote for what's good for the country. That's how you vote. The point is, do we believe? Do we believe in what God's doing? Do we believe that he has our best interests at heart and that he is on the throne and in control of every single thing that's happening? If we do, we're right there in the same boat, no pun intended, as Noah. We're right there in the same ark. We're standing on the same cornerstone. We're building on the same foundation as all those that came before us. We are building the roof of the church, standing on the shoulders of those that went before us. The foundation built on the backs of Jesus and the apostles. Do we believe? See, nowadays we need somebody that's willing to spit the truth out without restraining even one detail. Somebody who's willing to speak it clearly, audibly, and articulate this, even the bad parts, even the parts that people don't want to hear. And sadly, many today, if not the majority today, sugarcoat. Even the rough stuff, they may speak it in a certain way. They sugarcoat it a great deal. We've got to be truthful. Time is of the essence. Destruction is coming. The most horrible destruction you can imagine. The seals are going to be the precursors. The seals are going to be the pregame. There's always a pregame show. The seals are going to be that. And they are some of the worst descriptions of things you see. You see them in small scale around the planet. This is going to be worldwide. Every single human will be affected by this. They put out a warning yesterday. Upper northwest side of San Antonio, inside of 1604. If you live in Texas and you've been there, you know what that looks like. A mountain lion. They don't walk in those kind of areas, walking right through the neighborhoods. They put out a watch on there saying, if anybody sees them, call it in. We need to know what this animal's doing. Keep your small pets and your children inside. Well, in the seals, one of the seals is going to activate where all the animals are going to run out of the wilderness and start attacking humans at will. You imagine a pack of wolves, a bunch of coyotes, mountain lions. Even we have panthers in this country. A little further north, they got black panthers. Panthers, bears. We have black bears here in Texas. Bears running out of the wilderness, running up and just attacking people for no reason. That's just one of the things that are going to happen in the seals. And then it gets worse. If that's not bad enough. Because then the tribulation is spoken of as a time so bad the earth has never seen it or ever will see it. That's not relating or correlating to one singular event on the earth. Because a lot of people want to say, well, that sounds to me like about how bad this war was. No. You got to take every bad thing that has ever happened, put it together into one batch, one container, and times it by 100. That's the tribulation. Everything bad that has ever happened on this earth, combine it all together, multiply it by 100, that's the tribulation. People won't even be able to believe their eyes. They will die from fright. They will pass away from sheer panic. The real scary part is the ones that cowardly decide to take the easy way out and try to take their own life when they see it coming, when they come to the realization of what's happening, will not be able to, because in the Bible it says they would want to die. They can't. Why would you want to go through that? Now is the time. The age of grace is still active, but time is wrapping up. Now is the time to believe in Jesus Christ. Now is the time to put your faith and trust in the one Messiah, the one Savior, Jesus Christ, the only Son of God. And then you don't have to see those times. Oh, I know there's people out there talking, oh, there is no rapture. We've got to go through this. You go have fun. I would wish you good luck, but I don't want to wish that on anybody. Well, if that's what you want, go have fun. I'm leaving with my brethren when the Lord comes. I'm not going to be here. I don't want to be here for that time. I don't want to see that. Nobody in their right mind would want to see that. So if you want to be on the ark, if you want to be on the boat, all you have to do is one thing. Believe what the Bible says about Jesus Christ. Believe that he is exactly who he says he is. And then confess him as Lord. That's it. Tell him I'm a sinner. I'm broken. I'm a sinner. I've done bad things, and I need to be saved from them. And Lord, I know you're the only one that can do that. Would you save me? Please save me. Please give me this gift of salvation. It's there for the asking. All you have to do is take it. I really and genuinely fear for the earth right now. It's a good thing what's happening. Trump looks like, I mean, everybody's very excited. They're like, yeah, he's going to get it. And I was already 100% convinced he was going to. If he doesn't, it would be a literal shock to myself. A shock. Because I think this is something that has to happen. And that he is unique in that he is to fulfill a couple of final prophecies and a few certain activities that we'll talk about in a very, very closely future video concerning Daniel 8 and a few other places. And I fear for the earth and I fear for mankind because everybody's going to be very happy and everything's going to relax and everything's going to get good and everybody's going to be, I'm going to get married. I'm going to give this person away in marriage. Let's eat, let's drink, let's have fun, let's relax. See, it happened when Trump became president first time. We relaxed so much, Joe Biden got elected because we weren't paying attention. It's going to happen again. That's why I tell you guys, next year when things get good, be watchful. I'm going to try to keep everybody on their toes, especially this next year. We need to be watching and paying attention. Because it just may be that the Lord comes during this time when everything is going good, everything is at ease, when there's no problems. What did we just read in Matthew 24? They never knew there was a problem until the rain started. I think with the rapture it's going to be the same thing. And there are verses that support that. When the Lord comes, nobody's going to be the wiser, and boom, everything changes in an instant, the twinkling of an eye. We'll dig more into that later because I have several videos that I'll have to do talking about specific details involving this, but that's going to be for a future time. But just know, live the truth of God. Bear witness of Jesus Christ and what he has done in your salvation to those around you. Live the gospel. Live in a way that glorifies God. Show your salvation externally in your works, in your activities, in your behaviors. Let the world see it, because we may be the only Bible they ever read, and that may be enough for them to go, you know what, I think there's something to this. What they're telling me makes sense. I think I believe. And you get to lead them to the Lord for salvation, and you get to take somebody else to heaven with you. These are very important times we're living in. This is why I put out that message on the community tab. We need to vote, vote, vote. Everywhere I can, I'm putting it in or with other believers on certain videos. Vote, brethren, go vote. I don't care who you vote for, just go vote. Don't sit on the sidelines. We are to be active in this world while we're still here. Go vote. Let your voice be heard. And brothers and sisters, always be ready. Always be watching. I will be here as long as man will leave me alone and as long as the Lord allows it. And I'm going to share with you guys everything that I see and everything that's going on, everything that I learn. I'm going to share with you guys. There is nothing that I know that you guys don't know. I've shared everything with you, and I will continue to do that. And I'm going to stay on top of things as much as I can, Lord willing, all the way through all this. But each one of us has to take responsibility. Each one of us has to be diligent. Read the word. Pray. Study to find yourself approved, and be watching, eagerly expecting the Lord. Me personally, I think he's coming pretty quick. Pretty quick. I think this last little deal here is going to be a big indicator as to some very specific events. And if those events are telling us anything, they're telling us the Lord is on approach. So keep watching with me, and I'll share more with you later. I love you all very much. I bless you all in Jesus' name, and I'll see you in the next video.